Amy, well, this is an interesting story. It's the story of Chadwick Moore, who is a journalist, contributor to Out, The Advocate, Playboy, New York Times, New York Post. This piece I'm reading from in the New York Post, where Chadwick Moore recounts to Michael Kaplan tells a story. If you dare question liberal stances or make an effort toward understanding why conservatives think the way they do, you are a traitor. It can seem like liberals are against free speech if it fails to conform with the way they think, and I don't want to be a part of that club anymore. I finally had to admit to myself that I am closer to the right than where the left is today, and yes, just 3 months ago, I voted for Hillary Clinton. Chadwick Moore, the headline, I'm a gay New Yorker, and I'm coming out as a conservative. What triggered that epiphany? We asked Chadwick Moore, who joins us now. Chadwick, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
So what was the precipitating event that led to this piece in the New York Post and your conversion?
For a long time, I've been one of those moderate liberals who sort of kept my mouth shut, and when I disagreed with what was going on with my party and my peers, but you always have just sort of believed that if you are, any gay New York atheist, educated person, you have no choice but to vote Democratic. And, of course, this election season was just awful for many people and lots of emotions. But what did trigger it and what I described in that story to Michael Kaplan was this summer I was sent to London to profile Milo Yiannopoulos, who is the Breitbart tech editor, for Out magazine, which is the nation's largest LGBT magazine. And when the story ran, I really, like, every time I write about anyone or anything, I do make an effort to be very impartial, try to see both sides of things, tell a story. And when I do a profile of someone, I really want to get to what motivates them. I want to get to their humanity. And this is what I really tried to do with Milo. And when that story ran, I knew it would be controversial. I knew that it would get a lot of attention. What I didn't anticipate is that attention would all be negative and directed at me and the magazine. And so when it ran, I was getting death threats. I had like maybe 200 followers on Twitter. I was never on at the time. And suddenly all these people coming at me, doxing me, calling me a Nazi because I did this. There's this petition that went around online, signed by like over 60, members of the gay media, condemning the story, condemning me. Friends turned against me. It was awful. I'd go out into places where I hang out, where I've known people for years, and they wouldn't talk to me. And that was really the event that I thought, wait a minute, like, what is going on here? These people lost their minds. Plenty of people said, I didn't even read the story, but I'm going to condemn this. I'm going to, how dare you write about this person? And that's really what set it in motion. What sort of followed through is I thought for sure after Trump's victory that the left would kind of, sit down and have a word with itself and figure out what they need to do to win hearts and minds, how they got this wrong. And that hasn't happened. They've doubled down and become even crazier than ever, and more hateful than ever to anyone who doesn't agree with them and anyone who dares to say, let's listen to the other side. What's going on here? How did you get this wrong? Why there's so much hatred? So I don't want to be a part of that anymore, I just can't. And I don't want to keep quiet about it because I think that's dangerous.
Has time softened your relationship with these people who've taken a stance against you and that you're a conservative now?
Has time softened? Say that again, I'm sorry?
No, have they changed their opinions at all, or are they still mad at you for coming out as a conservative and treating you differently?
I mean, well, you know what? I've been getting so much, since that story ran, I've been getting so much love from people on the right, from all these strangers, thousands and thousands of messages of support. But any hate that's out there, I've not even seen it. It's like one hateful message to every 500 messages of support. So I've not even. I know it's out there. I've had friends and ex-boyfriends message me like, people are calling me and texting me and like asking what's going on with you, and I'm like, that's insane. So that's exactly why.
Yeah, the "are you okay" questions. Yeah.
Well, the other thing that's going on with respect to the left, as you were describing, a lot losing their minds, they're also becoming a bit more voyeuristic, as we saw from the Women's P Hat March, and then in Chicago over the weekend, the moon under Trump Tower, a few hundred people dropping their drawers to protest Trump. I mean, as someone who was of the left until recently, how do you view like those, what I would call kind of temper tantrums, as particularly productive for that worldview?
Oh, absolutely not. They're only driving themselves further into a corner. And I used to be someone who would love, I still do love outrageous things and provocative things and what have you, but this is just stupid, and they don't even know what they're protesting. And it just further alienates them. And the fact that it's so cheered on, like, let's win hearts by dressing up like a giant vagina and marching around because we don't know why we're mad. We just are, Like,
sounds like Amy's friend circle.
Chadwick, I've gone through a similar situation with my girlfriends, and what you have to do is you have to find new friends. So I have on eBay, I'm looking for new friends, and no, seriously, you just have to start over. I mean, at my age, I'm a little bit older than you, a lot a bit older than you, and you just have to find new friends.
You'll find new friends at the home. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you like Jell-O too?
So the interesting thing you said at the outset of telling your story, Chadwick, is that as a journalist, you're trying to figure out, what makes Milo Yiannopoulos tick. Where's he coming from? And it reminds me of this exchange that Michael Wolff, the columnist for The Hollywood Reporter, had with Brian Stelter on CNN last weekend, where he basically said, and he said to Brian Stelter, you come across a little bit ridiculous with these jeremiads against Trump all the time. The media's not supposed to be the story. And what I'm doing at The Hollywood Reporter, when I do a profile piece like on Kellyanne Conway and receive such invective back for even, deigning to talk to Kellyanne Conway, these are the individuals in power. As journalists, we're supposed to ask questions. We're supposed to find out who they are, what they want to do, why they want to do it. And that includes provocative figures like Milo Yiannopoulos that have an impact on culture, as you saw at Berkeley recently. And so the intolerance of even pursuing answers to questions that journalists always ask and should ask about people that are influential, that's the thing that's really interesting to me.
Absolutely. I saw that interview, and I was just cheering him on all the way. And that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. And it's so funny because so much the mainstream media got everything wrong this election, and they have not learned their lesson. It's mind-boggling.
And so now, how are you? You kind of alluded to it, but how are you getting along with some of your newfound brothers in arms, as it were?
The messages I've been getting have been amazing. All these personal stories and from conservatives are such a diverse group of people that you would never know about. If you just pay attention to most in the media, just all walks of life, all different viewpoints, and all of them have just been welcome. Love your friends. So many people like, let's get a drink. So many gay conservatives in New York that I never knew out there, and they're all, pretty good-looking guys. And we're like, like, you're not alone. We're all out here. It's been incredible. And I know that I'm going to have to kind of watch my back especially in my hyper-liberal neighborhood. But, I think this is more important to come out against these things.
Be sure they don't loosen the lug nuts on your tires.
Yeah,
right. Hey, you're from Iowa. Your dad's a farmer. How did your family react?
My dad couldn't be more proud, and it's brought us a lot closer. He's a lifelong conservative. My mother lives in Tennessee. Her family are all Democrats, but they're sensible Democrats. They're not crazy. And she says, I love you and support you. And, you're always stirring things up. So I knew this was probably coming. But yeah, they've been great. They've always been great with everything.
And what's the perspective? Give us some insight, the perspective of your former circle of friends and associates on the left. And in terms of their unwillingness to do what you did, which is to, be intellectually curious, have an open mind, is it just that they think conservatives are inherently evil and thus no engagement or pursuit of inquiry is required?
But that's exactly right. Because I don't want to start demonizing people who I know and love, and people who now think I'm a monster. Because I truly believe, and it blows my mind, but I truly believe that they think that conservatives are monsters and racists and don't care about black people and don't care about any other, minority group or women. And I don't understand. And I think it's because they're so ingrained in their bubbles. They believe everything they see on social media. Social media, especially Facebook, is so to blame for this because they, as we all know, they've remade their algorithm so you only get news and posts that you agree with based on this and that and the other. And I do think they actually believe it. And it's sad that I think so many people are not taught to think critically these days. And so many people are just looking to be motivated by passion and not by reason. And this, of course, if you believe that suddenly Nazis are in power, well, that's something to be very passionate about. That's something you can go after. You don't have to think about it. You can just act with your emotions. And it's so incredibly dangerous and also very sad.
Yeah.
And I think that there are good people who genuinely, the goals that what they're fighting, they believe their interests are genuinely good. They believe in equality for all people, and they don't want to see the little guy getting trampled on, but they don't realize how toxic and weird and misguided and uninformed the whole arguments become. And therefore, they need an enemy, and it's, 65 million people who voted for Trump or whatever.
He is Chadwick Moore, contributor to Out, The Advocate, Playboy, the New York Times, the New York Post. And I would suggest you read this piece I was referencing in the New York Post. I'm a gay New Yorker, and I'm coming out conservative. Chadwick Moore, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us in more ways than one. Thank you, Chadwick. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Happy to be on board. Thanks.
Eddie joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.